everyone, welcome to Storytime at the Manse. I'm Mama Han, and today we're going to be finding out what happened after God sent his people out of his place because of their sin. God's promise remains. Even though God's people were far from home, God still spoke to them. God sent more prophets. They spoke all his words and wrote them down in God's holy book. The prophet Ezekiel wrote that one day God would raise up the temple and give his people new hearts. The prophet Ezekiel. Isaiah reminded them that God's forever king would come from the family of David. That's Isaiah. The prophet Jeremiah was hopeful too. He said that Israel would return home again in 70 years. So now we have Ezekiel, Isaiah, and Jeremiah. All prophets. And who's this one? 70 years passed. 70 years, and the prophet Daniel prayed to God. He asked God to remember his promise, and God heard Daniel's prayer. So now who have we got? Who are the prophets?
Ezekiel,
Isaiah, Jeremiah, and
Daniel.
Did you get that, boys and girls? Ezekiel, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Daniel. 4 so far. Finally, God's people went home to Jerusalem. They returned to the land, but they had a lot of work to do. Jerusalem and the temple were ruined. Can you see the people rebuilding the walls of the city and the temple? They worked very hard, and when the foundation was finished, the people celebrated. All the people shouted loud praises to God. They were happy. With trumpets and cymbals, they sang to God. For he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever. But many of the older men cried. Can you guess why? Can you guess, boys and girls? They cried because they remembered Solomon's beautiful temple and knew that Israel could never completely rebuild God's place. They cried because they still longed for God's forever king to come. God's forever king. And that's going into the New Testament. So the question there, boys and girls, and everyone at home, is who is God's forever king? If you know it, just say the first letter of the name. J. Do you think it's a J? Boys and girls, do you think God's forever king starts with a J? We'll have to wait and find that out tomorrow. And we're coming into the next part of the Bible, the New Testament. All right. Bye for now.